lecture, we will discuss about the new topic in organisms and population, that is population interactions. Now, when we talk about population interactions, what is interaction? Through the YouTube, so I'm interacting with you people, I'm helping you to understand the biology concepts in a better manner, right? So in the same manner, what is interaction? What do you mean by population interactions? So if we start thinking in the nature, is there any habitat where just one living organism is there, independent, isolated, not interacting with biotic or abiotic factors? Just think for a while. Just think for a while, in any habitat, let it be a terrestrial habitat, let it be an aquatic habitat, is there any single isolated organism, so which is not interacting with either the abiotic factors or the biotic factors? So if we think, we'll come to a conclusion, we'll give the answer, it's not possible. So the prime requirement for every organism is to depend on another animal or other organism for the food, right? So even if you take phototrophs also, autotrophs also, even they depend on abiotic factors. They depend on soil, they depend on sunlight for the food and other requirements, right? They require carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, they take water from the soil, isn't it? So that means we can conclude that interactions are must. So the interactions which are happening among the organisms of the same species are called as population interactions. Now these population interactions are of two types. What are they? Intraspecific interactions and interspecific interactions. So we'll go into our topic today. So our topic today is chapter 13. So it is 13.2.4, which goes with population interactions. And we discussed what is interaction and how interactions are very important. Without interactions, not even a single organisms exist in a habitat. Now, how many types of interactions are there? As I told, so we have two types, like one is intraspecific interaction, the other one is interspecific interaction. Now, what do you mean by intraspecific interaction and what do you mean by interspecific interaction? Means intraspecific interactions means interactions among the same species, right? So a mosquito with a mosquito, a human with another human. Such type of interactions among the same species are called as intraspecific. And what is interspecific interaction? Interspecific interaction means one species with another species. Like rhizobium, which is a bacteria, it's interacting with a plant. Algae interacting with a fungi. So we interacting with the plant, right? All these are interspecific interactions. So intraspecific interactions means, so these are the interactions. These are the interactions among, I told it is same species, similar organisms. Whereas interspecific interactions means they are among two different species. So these are the interactions among, it should be among two different species. It should be among two different species. I think you understood. So what are intraspecific interactions and what are interactions and how interactions play very important role in maintaining an ecosystem, in allowing the continuity of the species. Now we are talking about, let's go with interspecific interactions, means the interactions among two different types of species. Okay. Now interspecific interactions can be beneficial. They can be beneficial, they can be harmful, or they can be neutral also. So we are telling the interactions can be beneficial interactions, the interactions can be harmful interactions, or they can be neutral interactions. Neutral interactions means neither beneficial nor harmful, right? Neutral means it is neither beneficial nor harmful. They are called neutral interactions. So for beneficial interaction, we'll use a symbol plus. For harmful interactions, we'll use a symbol minus, and for neutral interactions, we'll use a symbol 0. Okay. Now, there are 6 types of interactions. We will categorize the interactions. We can also categorize the interactions into positive interactions, and negative interactions. Now, what do you mean by positive interaction? What do you mean by negative interaction? Positive interactions means either one or both the species should get benefited. Negative interactions means at least one species should get harmed, that is negative interaction. So, positive interactions means either one species or both the species should get benefited. Whereas in negative interactions, at least one species should be harmed. In negative interactions, at least one species should be harmed. And we are going to discuss about 6 interactions in detail. Now, if we discuss among those 6, how many will come under positive interactions, how many will come under negative interactions, means 4 interactions will come under negative and 2 interactions under positive. Now, what are the 2 types of positive interactions? What are the 2 types of positive interactions? If you go with predation and if you go with predation, in predation, one species is getting benefited, right? So, in predation, one species, 1 minute. So, we can take commensalism as an example. As one positive interaction, and mutualism. As another example. In commensalism, if you have 2 species, so one species gets benefited and other species is neutral, neither benefited nor harmed. In mutualism, both the species are benefited. We can also call mutualism as symbiosis. So, commensalism and mutualism are examples for positive interactions. In positive interaction, either one or both should be benefited. Harm should not be there. In negative interactions, what are the remaining 4 types of negative interactions? So, we can go with the first type, what is predation. And the second type of interaction is parasitism. The third type of interaction is amensalism. And the fourth type of interaction is competition. So, these are the 4 types of interaction. So, these are 4. We can take this as a 5th interaction and this as the 6th interaction. Now, 4 types of negative interactions are there. So, what are negative interactions? One species should be harmed. In predation, predator is benefited and the prey is harmed, right? The prey is killed by the predator. So, 1 plus and 1 minus. In parasitism also, parasite is benefited whereas the host is harmed. In amensalism is interaction between 2 species. One species is harmed and the other species nothing, neutral. And in competition, both the species are harmed. In competition, both the species are harmed. So, when we know one common point in negative interactions, one species should be harmed. Here also one species is harmed. Here also one species is harmed. Here also one species is harmed, and here both the species are harmed. Whereas in positive interaction, so we did not take any minus sign, means either in positive interaction either one should get benefited or both should get benefited. So, all these are the interactions. Now, we have to discuss one by one interaction in detail with examples. Many a times in NEET examinations, these interactions with examples have been asked from this chapter. So, this topic is particularly important. So, we will go with one by one. In today's class, let's go with predation as an interaction, right? So, predation means it is the interaction between the predator and the prey, right? So, the predator gets benefited whereas the prey is harmed. Now, let us discuss our class today with predation then. Right? Let's go with the first interaction called predation. Now, so predation means one species which is called the predator kills and eats the other species which is called as prey. So, what is predation? So, here one species which is called as the predator. It kills and eats upon. It kills and eats upon the other species. Now what is the other species? It is called as the prey. It's called as the prey. Such type of interactions are called predations. If we have to think about examples for predation, then what immediately comes into our mind is lion is a predator and deer is the prey. So lion is the predator and deer is the prey. So lion is a predator, deer is the prey. So what is that? Eagle is a predator and chick is the prey. So like that, if you are thinking, even if we think like cow or goat feeding on seed or feeding on plant, even though it's eating herbivores, it's a herbivore, even this is also predation only. So goat is predator only here. And the plant is prey only, the seed or plant is prey only. This is also an example of predation. This is also an example of predation. So this is herbivorous predation. This is carnivorous predation. Okay. So if we have to list down some more examples for carnivorous animals. If we have to list down examples of carnivorous animals which act as predators. So comes into our mind is lion, tiger, wolf, snake, all these things, right? Now, when it comes to insectivorous plants, there are certain plants which are called insectivorous plants. They feed on insects. They need nitrogen. They grow in nitrogen deficient soils. They are also killing the insects. So, let us take the insectivorous plants also under predation. Insectivorous plants. Let us list down few insectivorous plants which act as predators. One is Nepenthes. Then next one is what is that? Utricularia. And the third one is Drosera and Dionia. So these are some examples of insectivorous plants, carnivorous animals, and we told like sparrow, goat eating plant or sparrow. When sparrow eats a seed, that is also predation. Or when sparrow eats insects, it's omnivorous then. Sparrow is eating herbivore plants also, it's eating insects also, means it's omnivorous. This is also an example for predation. This is also an example of predation. So I think we understood what is predation. Predation is an interaction between two different species where one species is benefited, the other species is harmed. We can tell for predation it is like one species is benefited, predator is benefited and the prey is harmed. Harmed means we have to keep minus symbol, right? So and we are taking some examples to understand better what is predation. Now if we have to list down what are the functions of the predator. Now let us think like plants are the producers. Plants are the only organisms which can trap the sunlight and fix it in the form of organic material. They take the inorganic substance like carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, water from the soil, and they convert them into an organic material called carbohydrate. So the photon energy got converted into chemical energy. It is with the plant. Now the plant is eaten by a herbivore. Herbivore is eaten by a primary carnivore. Primary carnivore is by secondary and tertiary carnivore. Now that means what we are discussing from one tropic level to one, this is eaten, this is eaten, this is eaten, we are telling, means it's predation only. Means predators if they are not there, so then the amount of energy which is fixed from the sunlight by the plants will remain at the plant itself. Means the first and most important function of predation is, we can tell, they are the natural ways of transferring energies in an ecosystem to the higher tropic levels. Means they are acting as conducts of energy. That is one function. Let us list down the functions of predation. We understood what is this type of interaction, what happens to the predator and what happens to the prey. Now when we have to list down the functions, what are the functions? What's the first function I am telling? The first function is, if predators are not there, then the amount of energy present at that tropic level will retain at that level. It cannot be transmitted to the next level. So that means they are acting as a natural ways of transferring energy to the trophic levels. So predators act as, they are natural sources transferring energy to higher tropic levels. Transferring energy to higher tropic levels means they are acting as conducts of energy. What are they acting as? Conducts of energy transfer. This is our first function about predation. They are acting as conducts of energy transfer. Now, when we have to discuss another function of the predator, what's the other function of the predator? Predator keeps the prey population under control. Now, if there are two insects, now they want to stay in the same habitat, their food resources are also the same. So then there will be competition among these two. They'll fight with each other. They will fight with each other. Now, if there are two insects, when they are fighting with each other, if the predator comes and eats off one insect, only one insect will be there. So then the prey population will be kept under control. So if the prey population is kept under control, it leads to ecosystem stability. That means predator, it is satisfying its hunger also, and it's keeping the prey population under control also. That's the second function. We can tell that predator helps to keep the prey population under control. Okay, that's the second function. Predator helps to keep the prey population under control. So the predator helps to keep the prey population under control. If the predator is not there, we can just take an example. In the absence of the predator, in the absence of the predator, when predator is not there, I told you when the predator is not there, then the prey will compete with each other. So then when the predator is not there, it causes the prey population will increase. It causes ecosystem instability. In the absence of the predator, then what happens? Prey population will increase. Prey population will increase and this causes imbalance in the ecosystem. It causes imbalance in the ecosystem. With an example, we can justify this function. What is that example? In the intertidal areas of the American Pacific coast, they have done a field experiment. They have removed the predator starfish. When they have removed the predator starfish from the American Pacific sea coast, then within a year, they could see that 10 invertebrates became extinct. Because when the predator is not there, then the prey populations will become more. When the prey populations are more, then because they're staying in the same area, they're competing for the same resources, they fight with each other. When they're fighting with each other, so I told you for competition, the symbols are minus and minus. Neither this can survive nor this can survive, right? So if there is a rupee note and two people are fighting for that rupee note, this person is pulling from this end, this person is pulling from this end. Will this person get or this person get, or it will tear at the center? It will tear at the center. No one got it. So like that, when the prey population is more, when they are fighting with each other, then what happens? They will become extinct. They will die. So this is the experiment which tells that the prey population, if it should be kept under check, means predators should be there. Let us write down the field experiment when we have removed. Let us take an example and tell. In a field experiment, in the rocky intercoastal areas, where we have done the experiment? In the rocky intercoastal areas of American Pacific coast. So from this area, we removed the predator starfish. When we removed the predator, what is the predator? Starfish. Starfish scientific name? Piaster. When we removed the predator, Piaster, now within a year what happened? Within a year, 10 invertebrates became extinct. They became extinct. So this is a very good example to tell that how important the predator plays a role. Now, if we have to discuss the next example, next function, what the predator will do. First we told they help in conduct of energy transfer for one trophic level to another trophic level. Second we told it helps in maintaining the prey population. We can tell it helps to maintain species diversity also. If the prey population is kept under control, then the space will be there. At that space the other prey can come. Predator helps in maintaining species diversity by reducing the intensity of competition among the prey species. So next function we can tell predator can maintain species diversity. How does the predator maintain species diversity? By reducing the intensity of competition among the prey species. It maintains the species diversity by reducing the intensity of competition. By reducing the intensity of competition among whom? Among the prey species. When the predator eats on the prey, then there is no competition among the prey. When there is no competition among the prey, when the prey species is kept under control, then there is a space for the other species. When there is a space for the other species, when there is a space for the other species, this is what is called as diversity. Right? So this is the other function. Now we can tell the other function is, that means we can indirectly tell that predator keeps the prey population under check. Predator keeps the prey population under check. It can check and it can control the prey population. For this we can take an example. Now if the predator is not there, then prey population will over flourish, right? Let us take an example. In 1920 in Australia, they brought a cactus plant. They introduced that cactus weed in Australia. Now because its predator is not there, this weed has invaded millions of hectares. In a short span, it has invaded millions of hectares and they were not able to control this cactus weed. Now then they thought, like, if they have to take control of this weed, means they have to bring the predator. Then they brought the moth which eats the cactus plant, which is called as Calotropist cactarum. It started eating the cactus plant and then this cactus population was brought into control. So we can tell that if predator is not there, how much this prey population can flourish. Again we can take an example to explain this. So I am telling in 1920 cactus was introduced. It was introduced into Australia, and since the predator is absent, what happened to the cactus? The cactus has invaded millions of hectares in a short span. The cactus, in the absence of the predator, the cactus has invaded. How much it invaded? Millions of hectares. It invaded millions of hectares and they were not able to control it. Finally, how could they control this cactus plant population? Means by bringing the predator. What is the predator? What they brought to control the cactus population, cactus plant population? They brought the predator which eats the cactus plants. It is a moth. The name of the moth is Calotropist. It's called Calotropist. It is called Calotropist cactarum. Now when they brought this Calotropist cactarum, then the weed was brought under control. So we were discussing about the functions of predation. One, it's acting as conducts of energy transfer to higher trophic levels. The second one, it helps to keep the prey population under control. The third one, for this we have seen the field experiment, what they have done by removing the piaster starfish. So it led to the extinction of 10 invertebrates, they have told. The third one, it helps to maintain species diversity. And the fourth one we are telling, so if the predator keeps the prey population under check, if the predator is not there, then the prey population will over flourish, we are telling. And when we have to write the fifth function, we can tell Predators help in biological control also. Now, what is biological control? The first and foremost problem what India faced after independence, you know, it is food scarcity. Means we are not able to provide food for the people who are there, and people are dying because of starvation, because of hunger. Then Swaminathan, he introduced green revolution, blue revolution, white revolution, like that. They started making green revolution. So they started using pesticides and insecticides. They used hybridization methods to increase the crop yield. But then by doing that, we are able to provide the food for all the people, but the ecosystem got damaged, the environment got damaged by using the chemicals like pesticides, insecticides and all. So after that, we understood, like, we damage the ecosystem, now we should not use further fertilizers and all. So then we switch to organic farming. So in organic farming, we will not use any chemicals. So if you want to kill a pest, then we will use a other organism which can eat it, right? That is called biocontrol agent. So the next function what we can write is predators act as biocontrol agents. They act as biocontrol agents. For example, aphids, gessid's, caterpillars and all, they will damage the agricultural crops. They will eat off the buds and all, they'll eat off the plants and all. So then how can we control it? You know, have you heard of dragonfly? Have you heard of ladybird? So ladybird and dragonfly are the predators which eat of the insects, which eat of the larvae of the mosquitoes, which eat of the aphids and all. So if you want to kill mosquito larvae, if you want to kill gessid's and aphids, like small insects which are damaging the crop, you need not buy an insecticide. You can just introduce ladybird or dragonfly. This concept is called as biocontrol agent. Examples for biocontrol agents are dragonflies, and the other one I told, ladybird. So what they do? They eat off the larva and the insects also. Means they are acting as bioinsecticides then. They are acting as bioinsecticides then. This is one. And the other one, we can tell that predators are prudent. What do you mean by predators are prudent means? What do you mean by predators are prudent means? If the predators are too efficient, if they keep on eating, all the animals, there's a forest, in the forest so many rabbits are there and one lion is there, and if the lion is eating one day one rabbit, at one point of time it wants to eat only rabbits. At one point of time the rabbit population will come to zero. It gets exhausted. So then that means the prey population became extinct. When the prey population became extinct, so because this predator wants to eat this animal only, so at one point of time this will also die because of hunger. So that's why they know how much to eat. So that's called predators are prudent. Means if the predators are too efficient, if the predators are too efficient, if they are too efficient, and if they feed on prey, after some time what happens? Prey population will become extinct. Because they're too much feeding on the prey population will become extinct. And when the prey population becomes extinct, after some time the predator also dies because of hunger. So which also leads to the death of the predator also, which also lead to death of predator because of hunger. When predator is not there, what it will eat and how it will survive. So these are the functions of the predation. Now when we tell that animal eating other animal is predation, or the goat or cow grazing on the plant is also predation, that is also predation. Insect feeding on plant is also predation, right? Now who are most affected by predation means plants are most affected by predation, because plants cannot move, they cannot escape from the insects. And you know, nearly 25% of all the insects are phytophagous. Okay, so we tell that plants are more affected by predation. You know, plants are more affected by predation. Why? Because they cannot move. Because they cannot move, they are more affected by predation. Then how to control, like what they will do, like they have certain mechanisms, they'll develop certain morphological or chemical or biological mechanisms to escape from the predator that we will see. Now plants are more affected by predation than animals. Why? Because they cannot move, right? So nearly we tell that 25% of insects are phytophagous. Phytophagous means the insects feeding on the plants for sap or for pollen grains, all those things. Nearly 25% of the insects will damage the plants. Okay. Now, to escape from the predator, what plants will do? Plants develop certain defense mechanisms. Plants develop certain defense mechanisms so that the predator will not eat it. Let us see some defense mechanisms. Some are morphological defense mechanisms. If we have to list morphological defense mechanism, development of spines in cactus, development of thorns in bougainvillea and all is a defense mechanism only. So development of spines where? In cactus, and development of thorns where? In bougainvillea, rose and all. So that the animals will not graze upon them. This is one morphological defense mechanism. So there are some physiological or chemical defense mechanisms also. So the animals which are grazing, they know that this particular plant has this chemical, so if it feeds on it, its reproduction, or it might be toxic for its life also, or it might cause irritability or gastric imbalance, it will cause, it knows, and it will not feed it. For example, under chemical defense mechanism, a beautiful example is Calotropist plant. Let's go with Calotropist. Now Calotropist, it produces a cardiac glycoside poison. What does it produces? It produces a cardiac glycosides. Now this cardiac glycosides, it will, if the predator eats this, now that cardiac glycoside, Calotropist produces a cardiac glycoside. This cardiac glycoside, it causes death of the animal whoever eats this Calotropist. So that's why the animals, they don't graze on Calotropist. Okay. So all these are the defense mechanisms. Morphological defense mechanism, spines and thorns. Under chemical defense mechanism, poison, cardiac glycosides. We can take some more examples also. What the plants, you know, the plants, they secrete nicotine, caffeine and all. We are using it as commercial uses, but the plant has produced them to safeguard it from the predation. Now, what are we using those chemicals? For example, plants produce chemicals to protect from predation. So let us list down some examples. One example is nicotine. It's extracted from tobacco plant. Now the nicotine which is extracted from tobacco plant is a stimulant. We use it because it stimulates the nervous system. The next one is caffeine, extracted from cocoa plant, and it is also a stimulant. So these are the economic importance I am telling. So the plant will secrete nicotine so that the predator will not eat it. The plant will produce caffeine, the cocoa plant will produce caffeine, which is a stimulant. In the same manner, some plants will produce quinine. So quinine, what is it? It is an alkaloid. So which is having medicinal value. It is having medicinal value. It is used in treatment of malaria. It is used in treatment of malarial fever. So one more example, if we go, opium. It's also an alkaloid extracted from poppy plant. And opium is a depressant. It's a depressant. And one more example they have mentioned in NCERT, it's strychnine. It is a poison. Strychnine is a poison. All these are the chemicals the plants are producing to safeguard themselves from predation. Now, for example, in animals also, among animals also, they also show such type of defense mechanisms. Okay, among animals, if we have to list down the examples how the prey is protecting itself from the predator means, so like frogs and all, they do camouflage. What do you mean by camouflage? So in order to not to get noticed by the predator, so they take the color of the surroundings and then they remain unnoticed. So that's called camouflage. They do such type of mechanisms to hide from the predator. And one more thing, when we have to talk about monarch butterfly, this monarch butterfly, it has poison in its body, and that is why it is distasteful for the bird. It's distasteful for the bird. Bird will not eat it because bird knows that the monarch butterfly is having poison. Now interestingly, how did this butterfly got that poison means, this butterfly in its larval stage, the butterfly in its larval stage means caterpillar, right? In the caterpillar stage, now it feeded on a poisonous weed. The caterpillar, it feeded on a poisonous weed, and it took that poison, and that poison from the larva, it will come to the adult. So that is why the bird will not eat it. The bird will not eat it. So these are some mechanisms. So we'll call them as prey adaptations. We can consider them as prey adaptations. So what we discussed in today's class is all about predation. We discussed about predation, like what are the functions of the predation, what are the examples of predation. In the next session, we will discuss about parasitism, which is another interesting interaction. So if you like the lectures, like, share and subscribe to my channel, Prasanna Lakshmi Tutorials. Thank you.